Welcome to Group Talk. 4 shows, 1 podcast from the Small Group Network focusing on topics relevant to small group ministries. Whether you're in a church of 100 or 10,000, whether you're a volunteer or staff, we want to support, encourage, and equip you to lead well. So relax, listen, and enjoy Inside Saddleback with Steve Gladen.
Happy November to all of you small group point people out there in the trenches of small group ministry. Thanks so much for tuning in to listen to our show today. Derek here along with your host, the man whose very initials also stand for small groups, Mr. Steve Gladen.
Hey everybody, it's exciting. It's a little chilly in SoCal. I had to turn the heater on in the house, just about a week or so ago. So it's pathetic how people in the colder climates are not feeling sorry for us at all.
Yeah, what's a little chilly there to you, Steve? 60 degrees?
Mid-60s, but yes.
People in Minnesota right now are not happy. Well, happy belated birthday to you, Steve. It looks like your mighty Ohio State Buckeyes gave you quite the birthday gift last Saturday with a crushing victory over the lowly Indiana Hoosiers. Was that a great gift?
Yeah, it was actually, we were doing our first Align conference too, bilingual Align in Tucson, Arizona. So had an amazing conference, had about $110, a little over 100 people there for that Align conference. So a lot of Hispanic pastors were there, so it's exciting to see that. And then went straight from the conference to settling down with a birthday pizza and a sweet game. So how does life get better? And my wife was with me on the whole trip, so it was just wonderful. So incredible food in the Tucson area. If you're ever there, you gotta go there and hit me up and say, where do I need to go?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what did they serve for lunch at the Align Tucson conference, or was there something great you just went and got afterward?
It was afterwards. At the conferences, it's pretty much always Chick-fil-A box lunches, and so it was no difference. But yeah, I had some great Mexican food. There's a special restaurant I love to go to there that has the best queso. And so if you're a cheese fan, and the cool story behind this is you love immigration. It was a Swiss couple from Europe that migrated to Mexico, picked up their cuisines, and did a cheese-based Mexican restaurant, and it just rocks. So, yeah, you want info on food? Come to me. You want info on diets? Go to Derek.
You are the cheese connoisseur. And 2 things I got to ask you. One is, any birthday reflections for us? 1, and 2, are you nervous about Penn State this next week?
Penn State, always worried about them. So we'll just, leave that to a lot of fasting and prayer on your behalf. Thank you. Birthday reflections, good question. Don't get old, because it's getting old is not for the faint of heart. But I've been blessed not to have any ailments so far, other than I like to eat, and my doctors are telling me to stay away from things that I like, which is not nice.
For new listeners to the show, we always feature 4 segments: the Saddleback Scoop, the Network Nugget, the Leadership Learning, and the Trending Topic. Steve, give us an overview of today.
Yeah, a packed show once again. We never disappoint. We're going to give you some fall updates. Got some great learnings from the Saddleback Scoop with the network. We're going to talk about growth spurts that we're seeing all over the planet in some hot areas, which is great. What's the path? As we'll go into the leadership learning, and then the trending topic, 3 must answers you need, along with 3 letters that will trigger people in a different way, CRT, and we'll talk more about that at the close of the show.
Are you really going there?
I'm going there, baby. We're going to get there, man, somehow.
Well, as we jump into the Saddleback Scoop, which is the latest happenings around Saddleback Church, Steve, take it away.
Yeah, one of the things that I love, and obviously this is a podcast that we have for small group point people, and one of the things I love is that I'm always getting learning inside the trenches. And part of what we love about the small group network is everybody is in the trenches. There's nobody that is, not buying what we're selling or trying to figure it out on our own. So just some great things we're just trying to pass along to you. So as you know, at Saddleback Church, we live and die off campaigns. And every year we do a campaign. Unfortunately for us, as Rick is transitioning out of Saddleback, we're not doing a campaign till we hire our new senior pastor. And for those of you that want to know where we're at, we're still looking for God to answer our prayers. But with that, we've actually pivoted, and we're kind of doing some different on-ramps, kind of like what a lot of your churches are doing, we have our fall on-ramp, and then we're going to do another one in February, another one in May. Just to kind of get groups started, and then we launch them for life. But in the show notes, we got some great learnings from you and some videos for you to watch. One of them is Rick's pitch. And so I thought Rick did a great job of making the pitch as we kicked off the month of October to do a groups push throughout each one of our campuses. Also have a great one of many small group testimonies we got. If you're looking for an idea on a testimony, you can go there and watch this small group. We filmed many different testimonies. You can see that. But one of the things that I want to be able to do is to walk you through just some of the things, and just want to remind you what we were doing, because we're in a multi-site church. And so one of the things is, because we have 19 campuses, they are literally spread out on 4 different continents. Predominantly, most of them, 15 of them, are in our 5-county area of Southern California, but we have 4 international ones. And so the pitch was, if you caught the show last week, we were doing, each campus was to look at their felt need and then make or find the content that would be relevant to address that felt need. And so we've got some great learnings, and this would apply to those of you that may be multi-site, and obviously those that aren't, the learnings are still very transferable. But got 5 quick learnings that I want to share with you from that fall update. And then we also have been doing some things with our community leaders, which is the people who help oversee the groups. And then we have our great push we're doing in January of 22 I want to talk to you about. So just some of the learnings. But first off, to the learnings from the fall push. Really, really great. We started just a few under 500 groups, so far less than what we would do in a campaign, but still it was better than a poke in the eye as we're coming out of this pandemic. But one of the things that we learned is that as much as you think, and this would be number one, as much as you think you have your communication dialed in, one of the things we learned that we're going to have to do in February of 22 is sharpen our communication skills. It was clear that although we felt it was clear to each one of our campuses were not as clear. And part of this is just goes back to Counseling 101. Tell me what you think I heard, and we can kind of build from there. And so we assumed a little bit too much on that. One of them too, and this is just a miss on our playbook that we know, is to stop distractions. And we noticed that at some of the campuses going into the fall, we were not as focused as we should be. So getting rid of some of those distractions that were just silly. So those were a couple of the less than fortunate learnings. Number 3 was kind of right in between. There's a tweener, is that as you empower campuses for creativity, we needed to get more feedback on what their creativity was. Some of them fit very good in our culture. Some of them were off-roading away from our culture. And so it was just one of those tweener ones. We've got to applaud them for being creative, slap on our hands for saying, oh, we should have been dialed in a little bit more to every one of the campuses and what they were doing. And then 2 just amazing learnings. One was innovation was off the charts. I am so proud of each one of our campuses. Their innovation for how they pitched groups, the curriculums that they developed for those of the ones that developed them, how they tied in our newsletters and our communications. they had some wonderful ideas. And one of them I wanted to pitch is that in the show notes, you'll have to take a look. It's a picture I took of one of the campuses did their own curriculum and developed this kit that they handed out to every one of their groups. And it was just amazing. It came with a bag. It had the study guide in it. It had some tools and some resources, had some fun swag, and they just branded it really great. So have to go into the show notes. You have to look at this picture because it was great. Because one of the things that also came from that campus and a couple others is we are now on track to do, we have video-based curriculum, which is really strong, but we're seeing out of our campuses, they're developing some great inductive Bible study curriculum. And one of the things that I'm excited about is that we will be on track because of our campuses to lay out some inductive Bible study tracks that gets people back into God's Word. Not that the video curriculums aren't, but this is just a little bit more, it does have a little bit more homework. So those of you that are homework phobic, that would kind of spook you away. But one of the things that it's doing is that we've been piloting what's going to get released into the network. And so I know this is a network nugget little piece sideline, but we're excited about a group method Bible study and it's an acrostic. And the G stands for, gather everybody up. And part of the group method Bible is that the Bible was designed to be read in groups of people. And you see that throughout the whole narrative and the whole normative part of the Bible things. Everyone was always learning in groups. But you got to gather people together. That will give you an icebreaker with that. Read the text. And so part of that can be done ahead of time or with that. What's your observations from the text as we lead you through some questions? What's your understandings? And then how are you personalizing that for your own life change with prayer? So the group Bible study method will be rolling out to you as we're piloting it at a number of our campuses. So big learnings on the group side of our launch that we're excited to specialize a little bit more as we get into the month of February.
And I think that's so cool and interesting in a good way is how you guys are giving the 19 campuses freedom to kind of create and do their own curriculum, which is, quite different. It seems like in the recent past, large multi-site churches where everything is so centralized and similar. So that's just, and like you said, out of that, you're finding, man, this campus created this amazing curriculum, and maybe some others are being a little too creative, but I just think that's great.
Yeah, it was fun, but it was a little scary. We did have we had a few things where, we always talk about, we love the messiness of the gospel, and we experienced it real time and had to do some stuff, but applaud them for their creativity and the innovation. And the great thing was, it's finally getting, it's not central driven, kind of like what you said, Derek, is that a lot of times in larger churches, multi-campus, you go so strong to a centralized approach. And I'm on the central team, so I get it. But there is the ability that you can lose the innovativeness and the freedoms that are actually happening from your campuses. And it actually, it's a great segue because that's what the beauty of the network is. The network is a great place for ideas. So just really quick, let me give you another couple fall updates. I won't spend as much time on these ones, but that is we talked in the last show about how we're doing some training with our community leaders. And we talked about our 5 modules that we're releasing. Module 1 being an intentional shepherd. Module 2, intentional shepherding in spiritual presence. Module 3, graceful conversations. That's a big piece of it. Module 4, asking insightful and inspired questions. Question asking is a big thing, and any of you with parents, any of you with children understand that as you're trying to parent. And then module 5, resources to help you out. And so we've been releasing that, and it's been exciting at the ranch. We probably trained gosh, I would probably say between 50 and 70 of our community leaders. A drop in the bucket to the 350 we need to train. But a lot of the campus pastors a lot of the connections pastors from the campuses were there. So we're excited to do that. And then I would say the last thing in the Saddleback Scoop that I'm excited about is we're making a big health push in the new year for individuals. Which will obviously play into the groups. But I would love for you, those of our faithful listeners, and we know who you are, is that in the show notes is a link to our individual health assessment that you can take online for you. And Derek will drop that into the show notes. But I would love your feedback on our health assessment. What was intuitive? What wasn't intuitive? And you can drop us your feedback to Group Talk at smallgroupnetwork.com so that we can get your learnings. If we get enough of the learnings, we're probably going to open up a lot of our group tools to any small group point person who wants to join a fake group, which we don't like to do at most churches, but in this case, so that you can experience the tools of the individual health assessment and the group assessment. So a lot of fall updates, but fall's a busy time. So boom.
That's one of the things I always appreciate about what you guys do at Saddleback, Steve, is obviously you want to see growth, and there's some big growth happening, but you're also focused on the health, and hence the health assessment. So yeah, definitely listeners, click the link in the show notes to do that. Man, that was quite the robust Saddleback Scoop. Let's jump now into our network nugget, where we talk about the latest news and information coming from the small group network. And Steve, there's always so much happening, especially in this season. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I talked to you a little bit about our group Bible study method, and hopefully that'll be released a little bit later on in the oncoming. I doubt if it's going to be ready in 2022, but we're working with a number of publishers and excited about getting the group method out there, which I think is very good. And it's also going to be done in multiple languages. So we gave that to you in the last block. But first off, it's been an amazing fall. One of the things the pandemic has done is it's just our growth percentages are off the charts. Our Facebook page just clipped over 50,000 likes. Been just amazing. Wow. It's been a jump of about 30K in this year. The other thing too, if you're part of our Facebook group, that is just about ready to eclipse 10,000 small group point people just on the Facebook group. It's been fun. So a lot of great things. And then we have, and Derek, this little pat on the back to you, Derek runs our communications team. Our communications team has been cranking out tons and tons of amazing content that is out there from people in the network, not only on our 4 podcast shows, and not only what's going out through our Twitter account and through Pinterest and through IG, but Derek, we'll just a little fun quiz, find out if you understand what's under the hood of your place. I just got these stats in. How many articles do you think we have on the small group network site?
Boy, oh boy, just off the top of my head, articles, 200, 250?
Close, very close, 800. So, there is a wealth of knowledge between countless podcasts that we have. I should have got the podcast number. Carolyn Takeda, who runs our podcast, oversees our podcast shows, is going to shoot me for not giving that stat. But I know there's over 800 articles, which was amazing. So great content out there for you guys and gals, but also in the Facebook group, you can search. So that's going really, really good. But let me give you a few updates from the network that are fun. If you weren't part of our virtual lobby, sorry, you missed it. It's come, it is gone. It was on leadership development, and just a great pack-filled 4 hours that we had in October, and couple hundred were on that, and so it's fun to see that. But what's even more exciting is I think it was the 27th of October, I got together with all of our global leaders, and each one of them are going to be doing their version of the virtual lobby in Q1 and Q2 of 22. So it's going to be out there 12 other times. Excited to see what's going to be happening there. And what makes the virtual lobby a little different than most is we give you time to be able to have discussions with people. It's just not content that's streaming at you, but it's live folks that are doing it. And there's breakout sessions, and there's opportunities for you to connect. And anybody who obviously was on the virtual lobby was able to get them all on demand. So good for those of you that seize the moment. It's kind of the parable of the 10 versions. How about virgins? 10 Bible versions. No, the door's shut, and but once we release it out to the global network, and then it'll probably be on live. So good with that. One of the great things, you can go to the course note to our course page. Derek will throw that link in there. We're just dropping, as today, the airing of this podcast, we're dropping Leadership Essentials. It's our first of many leadership courses that are out there. And Dr. Dave Alford, who is on the Saddleback staff, has his PhD in leadership development, is releasing our first course of many that are going to come from other folks throughout the network. So we're excited about that. And then I would be amiss if I didn't tell you that as we head into winter, there is no better place than Southern California with the lobby gathering. Once a year, we do a physical, what we call lobby gathering, where we get together with, we limit it to 120 people. Sorry about that. People hate us for that, but if you get over that, the dynamics change, but it is purely nothing but a networking event. It's also our 15th year anniversary. If you haven't been to the lobby before, you can check the link out. Derek made a great video on there. There's, I think there's a testimonial, a little bit of a video on that page where I explained the lobby. It's our 15-year anniversary. We're rolling out a different format than those of you veterans of the lobby. Still a lot of the great time for you to have conversations. So don't worry, nothing there will be missing. But we're going to be introducing a few different tracks. And we're going to be having a track for new small group point people who are trying to network together. We're going to have one for veterans. And then we're going to do some different things with church sizes. And so, of course, in the night sessions, we're going to have 2 challenging talks for you that you're not thinking about, that you have to engage with and have conversation on. And then we're going to have some, obviously, some of the other things that are great there. And being at the ranch is just a beautiful, serene environment.
Yes, it is a beautiful, serene environment, to say the least. And I really like the idea of the new format, the tracks, for new churches, veteran churches, the church size. Man, that's going to be really awesome for new people coming this year.
Yeah, and it's definitely, and again, it's because the people in the network have been, when they fill out the survey forms, they say, hey, this is what you need to do. And you're like, oh, let's listen to them because they're smart. And so, yeah, it's getting some good reviews from people are there. So go to the show notes. You can catch the link and you can see more there. Last thing in the network that I'm excited about in 2022, probably not the last thing, but the last thing we're going to mention in this block on the network. Now, for those of you who are small group point people, we are debuting a conference called Attain. And we've already secured locations in DC, Nashville, Dallas, and Orlando in 2022. This is a conference for small group leaders. Now, I know people know I'm from Saddleback Church, but this small group leader training is not based off our paradigm, but just based off what small group leaders need. And so it goes through four sections on that. And the great thing about this conference is a lot of times you take your small group leaders to a conference and it's a great experience. But when they walk away from the conference, they have their conference notebook, but they forget what they're doing. What this conference is going to come with is 12 videos that can help you over the course of the year You can do a monthly meeting or do monthly flip learning to challenge your small group leaders to take some of the content that they learned and be able to take it a little bit deeper. And so it's just an exciting opportunity to train small group leaders in a very, I say generic way, but they're just 4 staples that they're going to need. You can read more about those 4 sections that we're going to be teaching through on the website in our events page when you click on the Attain conference. So pretty excited about what's going on there.
It's amazing to me how the network is growing in a way where we've had the lobby gathering for years. We've had Accelerate conferences for years. We added a line, and now Attain is coming. Man, this is a smorgasbord.
Yeah, it's an exciting buffet of opportunities for you as a small group point person.
Exciting.
I cut you off.
No, I love it. And man, if I had to choose between the 2022 Attain events, I'm seeing DC, Nashville, Dallas, Orlando. Boy, Orlando, it's calling my name. Let's go.
And those of you, we're going to be knowing Orlando in November. I guess I should tell you, DC will be in February. Nativity Church is going to be hosting that one. So excited about that. Nashville will be in May. Dallas will be in September, getting you out of that summer heat there. We're going to be in the Frisco area, and then Orlando will be in November. So excited for those 4 conferences and just what we're going to be seeing God do with training small group leaders. And so small group point people will walk away with 12 modules from the same content, but they'll be able to take it deeper with questions already pre-done for them, or they can make up their own questions if they don't like the ones we're giving them.
Sounds amazing. Well, we are going from second base to third base, or I should say, second base to third base, towards the leadership learning. And this is where we're talking about little leadership tips, developments. So, Steve, we're talking about the path. What do you got for us?
Yeah. And on this one, I really want to challenge, I was really convicted going through the virtual lobby on leadership development that so often we don't have clear pathways for our peeps. And I just want to challenge you. I'm going to walk through a leader pathway, a community leader pathway, and a staff pathway that I would encourage you to at least, you've got to answer the question, what's our path? What is our path? Jesus was very clear in Matthew 4 when he was calling the disciples. He clearly said, just follow me. 3 years later, it was die for me. And there was all kinds of developmental steps between follow me to die for me, which are very outlined well throughout the New Testament. And one of the things that I just want to share with you is in our leader pathway. And again, in the show notes, there's a link to how you can get the resources if you want to see them more in depth. But one of the things we have in our pathway, and Derek, I think I'll flip you a picture of the pathway that you can throw in the show notes too, a little added bonus there. But we have 4 phases for when we take a host, when we engage a host who's basically, they're saying, hey, I got 2 friends, I'm starting a group. We take them through an engaging phase, we take them through an equipping phase, we take them through an empowering phase, and we take them through an energizing phase. And the bottom line is they start with 2 friends. They're going to be a host throughout the week. They're going to be a leader tomorrow, and they're going to be a minister forever. So we are clearly taking them through a developmental process of saying, how do you take organic friendships, turn them into a host gathering, moving them to leaders, and moving them to ministers? And I've been excited, in the 24 years I've been at Saddleback, watching so many of our people who are they started with a group. They started with a couple friends, and now they're on staff. And so that pathway, we'll flip the pic to you so you can see that. Then the other one is for our community leaders. And as you know, it takes a village to raise your kid if you're a parent. And it takes a village to raise a healthy small group. And in planning small groups with purpose, Page 143, you see our village that we have there. But we have a 3-step process to engage them as a friend, and to take them to being a leader, to take them to where you're coaching them for life. And of course, in our community leader process, we have an acronym for friend, an acronym for leader, acronym for coach that we're growing them through. And so just taking them from the developmental side of, hey, just become a friend with a small group leader, to helping them develop them into a leader, and then to be able to coach them. And then the same thing, and there'll be a link there in the show notes so you can see, take the picture, and you can see all the details of how you can get the link for all the stuff that we have for you on the pathways of those two. But then also for your staff, and what's your pathway for your staff? And I'm just going to tout this as just a must-have. If you got a church over 300 and you don't have an intern course program or an internship program, you are missing the very starting point to your staff, or the possibilities of a staff person. And inside the show notes, again, we have a link to the course that we have on how you develop an internship program. And you can say, Steve, this isn't that small group friendly. Why would I need this? And I'm going to say, hey, if you're trying to develop people, if you're trying to develop future staff, you better have an intern program. When I went through seminary, one of the requirements was I had to do 3 internship programs throughout my master's of divinity, and it was priceless for me. And I would even say, if you're a church of 200, you could probably do an internship program. It is silly for you not to do it. But what you don't want to do is develop a staff pathway where your interns are just slave labor. And I got to confess, 2 of my 3 internships, it was pretty close to it. It wasn't too much developmental stuff that was happening, or intentional development that was happening. I learned a lot by process of elimination. But I would say to you, I would encourage you to start an intern program. Lisa Burrow, who's our pastor over our internship program, has done a phenomenal job. And I think to date, 45 of our current staff came out of our intern program. And so be the leader in the house-to-house movement and start an intern program. So your leadership learning you better be learning about what your pathway is for your small group leaders, for your infrastructure, whatever you're going to call them. We call them community leaders. And then for potential staff of saying, how do I take them from just being an intern to developing them into being a full-fledged pastor?
Wow, 45 Saddleback staff, you said, were former interns. That's quite the pipeline you got. That kind of makes me think of our favorite college football and recruiting, the importance of having a pathway to recruit, like they do at all these high schools. And you're saying for kind of ministry, that is could be an internship. That's really good.
It has to be. It's got to start somewhere. And for your churches, be a blessing to people starting out in ministry, like when I started out in, good Lord, 1982. Derek, were you even born in 1982?
I was 2 years old.
Oh my gosh. That's how painful it is for me to hear you talk about this. All right. Bring us home.
We are sliding into the home base of this episode, the trending topic. And Steve, you're going to tell us about the 3 must-have answers. Please tell us what these are.
Yeah. So obviously, if you were at the top of the show, we're going to jump into CRT in a bonus section here in just a moment. But what I want to talk to you about is this better be your trending topic. And good Lord, if this isn't, you've got to have the answers to these 3 questions. And I would encourage you to wrestle with these questions. If you are a small group point person, 3 questions you should have the answers to is making sure you process this is, number 1, do we have enough small groups for our church? one question that as you're going into 22 or as you're reflecting back on 21 in this November episode, you got to ask yourself the question, do we have enough small groups for our church? Now, part of it at Saddleback, we have 19 campuses. One of our goals for this particular question is always to say, we want to have a goal for 125% of our people in small groups. And so we want to make sure that we're saying, okay, based on the size of your campus, do you have enough groups that can attain that? And we have metrics that go off of that. Yours might not be 125%. You might have a different percentage of you want connected into a small group. But you've got to be able to answer the question, and you got to be able to measure the answer. Remember, you can't manage what you can't measure. So you're going to have to understand that. Number 2 question that you want to have is, how is our customer service? People are always asking, hey, can we join? I mean, in this last fall push, we had, obviously, I think it was, I can't remember the exact number, is 436 or 463. That's the problems with dyslexia. You can't remember exactly how many groups you started immediately in this moment. But the amazing thing was we had over 2,000 people said, I'm too scared to grab 2 friends, but I do want to join a group. And so again, you got to say that's 2,000 people that flooded our pipeline in October. And so we're always asking the question is, how's our customer service to those over 2,000 people? And part of that is we have set up, and this is just our metric, worst case scenario, those people are fully serviced within 7 days. That's what we've put out there. You may want to do 3, you may want to do 5, you may want to do 9. But the thing is, you've got to ask yourself the question, you've got to have an answer for it, is how is your customer service doing? Third question that you've got to have a must answer for is, how is the spiritual health of our individuals and our groups doing? And you've got to have, again, clear metrics on how you're engaging that. We're trying to make sure our people are engaging in individual health, and we're trying to make sure they're engaging in group health. And you got to have metrics to be able to measure those things. Now, if you don't have answers for those 3 questions, I'd want to encourage you to start making it a goal to say, okay, let's find out, where our network is, and start to measure just some things from getting some data out there. And so as you're doing focus groups or as you're meeting with small group leaders, there's a 4 helpfuls list question that we got from Tom Patterson's organization that has just been priceless for us. But with the pandemic subsiding somewhat, now is a great time to get perspective on where your existing groups and your new groups are at regarding health and community of where you want your groups to go. So 4 questions that you can engage your people to be able to help get you the answers if you don't have the answers to those 3 questions. One of them is, what is healthy in our small groups? Find out from them what's healthy, which leads to the second question, what's unhealthy? Now, in the unhealthy question, number 2, what's unhealthy? You're trying to find out what needs to change. What are the things that need to change in our small group or from the small group ministry? Number 3 is what's confusing. And basically, you're trying to find out what needs clarity. And then number 4 is what's missing. And there you're trying to find out what needs to be added. And so you may have an idea of, do we have enough small groups? You may have an idea of, what our customer service should be. And you may have an idea on spiritual health and individual health of both groups and the individuals. But do your people understand what you're wanting and know how to do it? And so the 4 helpful list questions, what's healthy in a small group, what's unhealthy, what's confusing, what's missing. Great questions to have over a cup of coffee. And I'm just going to come back to this. The only way you're going to get not only the answers, but be able to make intelligent processes to get to those answers is the small group ministry is all relational. And you need to ask yourself at the end of every week, how many breakfasts did I have with leaders? How many lunches did I have? How many dinners did I have? How many morning coffees? How many afternoon coffees? If you're not in the field, there's no way you're going to be able to have the relational equity to ask the questions from the 4 helpful lists so that you can get the answers that your church really needs to get towards. So I would say in this trending topic, let's close 2021 with you understanding what is the very foundational 3 answers you're going to have to these questions, and then knowing that you're always building a relational base inside your small group leaders to get to know them before you have to go into the data that you need.
And also, like you said, boy, you get a lot of tasty lunches, dinners, and coffees.
Which means you have to work out. Maybe one of those questions should be, who are you working out with? Which small group leader did you work out with right now? But very good. So any other wrap up you have other than that snarky, fun little comment?
No, I really like that 4 helpful lists. I know we've used that in the small group network a lot. And I know how much that always helped me. It really helps you in a simple way diagnose, man, what is working, what's not, what's confusing. So write down that 4 helpful list, use it in your small group ministry. And man, that was an amazing trending topic. And Steve, you alluded to a bonus section that's kind of going to get some people's attention.
Yeah. One of the things you just can't ignore from this pandemic was the division it's caused, and where social justice and critical race theory and people talking about Marxism and different things. It's amazing to me the political divide that has happened in churches and in people. And in the bonus section of our little podcast here is an article in the show notes. And Ed Stetzer has probably written one of the best articles on this topic. And the reason why I like it so much is that one of the things we as the church cannot stop doing, and that is caring for what God cares the most about, and that's people. God doesn't care about what political party you're in. God doesn't care about, whether you're masked or unmasked. God doesn't care about whether you're vaxxed or unvaxxed. And probably somewhere in there, he does care about your health. I would say that. But I say it in that clarity because what is clear that he cares about is people's eternity. And sometimes we as the church can alienate us from the very people that God wants us to minister to. And part of what can happen is, like, if Derek says he's a Christian and I say I'm a Christian, but we have 2 different behavioral patterns, what can happen is maybe our definition of Christian is a little bit different. And the thing that I like about this article that Ed wrote is that oftentimes there's buzzwords out there: social justice, BLM, CRT, you're Marxist, different things like that, or biblical ethics. But I think where it starts with is us clearly knowing the definitions of what we're talking about. And I would just encourage you as a small group point person to take the time to read this article, because the church tends to be the epicenter for where people are trying to find answers to what culture never gives us. And we've seen that all throughout the pandemic. Numbers have been through the roof on frustration, on addictions, on suicides. You just go through the stats and they're staggering. But the thing that if we can be is, if we're talking with people about stuff, let's make sure we're talking about the same thing. So if somebody wants to engage me and talk about critical race theory, let's not go from what I think it is and what they think it is. And we may be, are going around a mountain that we don't need to go around, but we can talk about based on definitions. And so I think Ed sets a great framework for an article. And you as a small group point person, you've got to be able to know how you're engaging some of the hottest topics in culture, because what's at stake is people, and people matter. And the last thing you want to do is alienate people from the good news that we have to offer people. So there's a role for government, there's a role for the church, but the church sometimes figures like we need to be the arm for the government. And so you just got to be careful on that and make sure you're engaging in healthy conversations where you can learn civility in a world that is very, very uncivil. So take the time to read it. Would love to hear your comments. Again, you can always dialogue with any of our podcast hosts, or in this particular show, you can ping it to Derek or to myself, and email us at grouptalk@saddlebacknetwork.com. And I can't believe I almost forgot that email address.
Yeah, or you can find Steve and I always in the Small Group Network Facebook group, and ping us there, ask us to be friends. But man, Steve, what a great show. What an action-packed show. We rounded all the bases. We slid into home and we scored. And we just want to say thanks again to all of you for spending part of your day with us. We hope that this show encouraged you. We hope it equips you to lead better, to have a healthier, more vibrant small group. We hope you have an amazing November. And until next time, goodbye.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to Group Talk. We invite you to subscribe to our podcast through iTunes and get new episodes downloaded automatically. Also, if you enjoy this program, please take a few minutes to give us a positive rating on iTunes so that other small group point people can find us more easily. We encourage you to visit our website at smallgroupnetwork.com to access our library of free resources, connect to a huddle with other small group ministry leaders in your area, read our blog articles, or join us on our Facebook group. Don't forget to use the hashtag SGNet when engaging with your social media channels. Thank you for your support.